Oh, it's nearly there. The Premier League is getting closer. Gonzo, you're getting excited. 10 days until we kick off at Old Trafford.
So, yeah, and the dogs are excited as well, Geo, as you can hear. So, yeah, we're in the whole family are very, very excited about it. So, yeah, I really am. I'm still sticks in the back of the throat, the first home game being so far away. As somebody, I think Jay said on the forum today, it's whatever, 6 weeks. I don't know however it was a bloody long time until our first home game. So yeah, but I am excited about it. I'm not going to Old Trafford myself. So my first game that I'm going to attend is going to be at Southampton. So I'm particularly excited for that one.
Yeah, the home game thing started to piss me off as well. Actually, I was looking at booking for the Huddersfield game, and when I clicked on the calendar to book to pick the date, I had to sort of go to the next month and then move along. And I thought, why am I doing this? I normally just have to book it 2 or 3 weeks, but I'm going to the next month, so I thought it's too far away. But it's good that the Premier League football's back in general as well. Actually, I've missed watching other Premier League games as a neutral. Are you nervous or confident so far for Man U?
No. If you remember last season, actually, Man U, and everyone was laughing at Pogba. And as you know, we always say I'm not the biggest watcher of players until we play them. So, but I'm conscious of what people are saying. I do hear it. Everyone's whinging about Pogba last season, and Ibrahimovic is too old, and Rooney's past it, and blah, 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 blah. So I went up to Old Trafford. I think we got a draw in the league, and I went up to Old Trafford in the League Cup, and we got absolutely thumped. And they were brilliant. And Pogba, this guy who I've been hearing for a couple of months, was absolutely brilliant. Martial ran the game. Ibrahimovic was brilliant. Rooney was brilliant. So and I think possibly they'll be better this year. So I think it would really make anyone nervous. Don't believe everything you read there. It's a really big club. The stadium's always quite quiet, though, I've got to say. Up until they got their third goal, I think it was, the stadium was very quiet. So if we can get on top early, the crowd will be quiet. There's a lot of tourists support Man U. So we do have a chance.
Yeah, I'm hoping the Super Cup throws them a little bit. They've got the Super Cup before the playoffs midweek, so I'm hoping that disrupts their schedule a little bit. We've got a few injuries, though, which is getting a little bit close to Lanzini's not playing Man City. Reed's not, because apparently he's suspended. I didn't know he could get suspensions in friendlies, but he's suspended, so he's not playing against City. Sacco's playing against Tottenham on Saturday in a under-23s game. So we've got a few niggly injuries, which is getting a little bit... It's going to be a bit touch and go, I think. But speaking of no home game, speaking of the old home, Upton Park, have you seen that Bonds and Brooken work of art?
I've seen the mural. Where is it?
It's on the chipper at the end of the corner of the East Stand and
Okay. Oh, right. I didn't know. I only saw the thing. It wasn't sort of any indication of where it was. Yeah, it looked really... I saw a kid. I think I saw a little bit of some kids in masks, and they were doing it, and it was a video of them spraying it. Talented boys, actually. Very bloody artistic. Very clever. Yeah, it looked nice.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures today of it. It's finished now. It's absolutely stunning. I think I might actually take a trip out there, maybe before the Huddersfield game, actually, to see it, just because it looks really good. That's the type of thing I think they need at Stratford somewhere. I think they need one or two of them somewhere around Stratford, but we just know it won't happen. That's not the type of thing. It might happen at the other side over at Hackney Wick. You'd get away with that at Hackney Wick, but you won't get away with that at the Stratford bit.
Well, they'd scrub it off. It'd be scrubbed off in 2 minutes, but that's not graffiti. That's art. Those boys were talented that were doing that. Clearly, if you gave them a pen and pencil, they'd be able to do something. They were artistic. They're not scribbling I was here or anything like that. It was good. Yeah,
well, Newham Council organised it and that, so the Newham Council are fully aware of it and stuff, so that's really good. We'll get stuck into some transfer chat now, will we?
Yeah, go on.
Fagouli's still here.
Yeah, not for long, I don't think. There's no smoke without fire, and there's a lot of bloody smoke, isn't there? That's pretty much confirmed from everybody. Was it Galatasaray? Is he meant to be signing for Galatasaray? I think we need his wages off the book, don't we, by the sounds of it, to pay wages so we can offer Lanzini a new contract. So he needs to go, I think, although I am slightly worried about it. Looking at that first game, I've got a really sneaking suspicion that for that Man U game, I can just see Snodgrass in the starting 11. I really can. I think if Antonio's not fit, if Faguli is off as we think, I can just see it happening. I can just see him playing Snodgrass there, which should not be a good start at all. So, yeah, he will go before the Man U game, I'd imagine, for Faguli.
Yeah. I think we just need it to happen, really. There's no point in dragging it. It's no good for anybody. It's no good for West Ham. It's no good for Galatasaray. It's no good for Faguli. Nobody wins this transfer dragons. I'm just hoping it hurries up. But we've been talking about this for a month now. But do we need to replace him?
Well, if we're going to end up with Snodgrass on the right side when Antonio is injured, then yes, we do need to replace him because Snodgrass is not good enough. If the space is being left vacant, so as if Antonio gets injured, we're going to give Nathan Holland or Samuelson or somebody a run in there, then fair enough. If we're going to leave, the reserve placings to go to some of the youngsters, then great. But, I think it's as simple as that. If we're going to have Snodgrass playing there, then we certainly do need an additional right winger.
I don't think we should replace him, to be honest. I think we've got enough. I think, given we're not in any European football or that, I think Snodgrass, Ayew, Arnautovic, Lanzini can play on the wing, and Antonio, obviously. I think that's enough wingers. Byram and Masuaku can play there. I'd like to see Byram right wing, actually, if Antonio's out, because that's what he did at Leeds, and that's why he caught everyone's eye, if you like. He looks good going forward for us. His question mark is over his sort of defensive side and his discipline, but nobody's questioning his attacking attributes. So I wouldn't mind that. And I think it also forces Slav maybe a little bit that you're sort of going to have to use Nathan Holland. Even if Snodgrass did start for whatever reason, then there becomes a space on the bench, and that's where he's going to force his hand a bit. I just think we need to be a bit savvy by the signs of it with money, which we'll come on to a little bit in a minute. So would you be disappointed if we didn't replace him?
No, not if youngsters get a chance, as I said. But it's as simple as that. If Slaven is going to say, do you know what, from what I've seen in pre-season, has shown me that actually, Nathan Holland can step up, because we're talking in that position. If he's been impressed with Rice, he's been impressed with Holland, and he's thought to himself, actually, do you know what, I'm not going to buy more guys in, and I'm going to give these guys a chance, then I would not be disappointed. But as I say, I would be very disappointed if we sold him, didn't replace him, and had Snodgrass playing there. I don't know what you're saying about Ayew. Ayew can play there, but for me, he's not really a winger. He needs to play centrally. And I don't want to see Lanzini out wide, because I think we really missed that creative final ball that somebody in the centre, a playmaker, to unlock defences from central positions. So, but I don't think, as I say, I think if Holland plays, I don't think we're shy at all. And it'd be interesting to see. I think Samuelson's been injured, so it'd be interesting to see if anything happens there with him. And of course, we've got Quina to come back, who was one of the star players in the European Championships. So I think we do have some young talent there to come through.
And before we talk about some more transfers, including a couple of confirmed ones, which everyone's been talking about the last couple of days, we are going to have a shirt giveaway on Twitter next week. It's the home shirt. We asked everybody, what shirt do you want? The home, away, or third one, which we don't know what it looks like yet. But most people chose the home one. So we're giving that away next week in the run-up to the Premier League kicking off, thanks to our partners over at Umbro. So keep your eyes on our Twitter at @hammers_chat, and all details will be there on how to enter. Iheanacho's literally just been confirmed, Gonzo, going to Leicester. Disappointed that we never got him?
Not particularly disappointed, but I do think we do look a little bit silly, bearing in mind it's obviously we know that Bilic pulled the plug at the last, but initially we seemed to stall for a long time because the buyback clause wasn't a particular incentive to do it, because the buyback clause, I think, was suggested that he would cost 25 million and then there'd be a buyback clause of 35 million, which wasn't particularly appealing, I don't think, for the owners. Well, now we find out he's going to Leicester for 25 and the buyback clause is 50 million. Well, that becomes a lot more appealing, doesn't it? So I think it's good business from Leicester, and possibly we've missed out. Although if Chicharito starts scoring goals, we won't even give Iheanacho a second thought.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. I really wanted Iheanacho, but I don't believe we could have got Iheanacho and Hernandez. I don't think our board would have got both of them. There's no way. You won't convince me otherwise, to be honest with you. It would have been ideal, but it's disappointing when you see it go through tonight. It's confirmed at Leicester, and you see it, you just think, if only we could have got him. I think he'll Who do you think will score more goals next season?
Well, that would depend on what happens with Lanzini and what happens with Mahrez. If Mahrez is going to throw his toys out of the pram and have a right old sulk up like he did last season, down tools, then they're going to struggle to create from midfield, particularly if it looks like Damari Gray, who's their promising young player who's going to be sold to Bournemouth. They might struggle to create. But I think if they sell Mahrez and we keep Lanzini, then Hernandez scores more goals.
Yeah. I think it'll be close between the two of them anyway. I think it also depends on styles, how Bilic plays and how their manager plays. Is it still Shakespeare? I assume it is.
It is.
Depends how they set up, I suppose. Do you think a Leicester... I'd imagine a Leicester striker is going to have to go. Would you be looking in their direction at anyone? We spoke about this briefly, but that's before Iheanacho was confirmed. It's confirmed now, so would you be having a look over there?
No, as I said to you before, I thought the one that had the most promise was Ahmed Musa. Is just really quick, looks really good. I think he was possibly bought as a replacement for Vardy. I don't want Islam Slimani. Not interested at all. And well, I mean, speaking about their strikers, actually, that's going to have a big impact on who scores most out of Chicharito and Iheanacho. Because if Vardy's still the main man there, are they going to play two up top? You may well find that actually our boy Hernandez plays a lot more than Iheanacho does, because Vardy's still the main man. I wouldn't be, if someone offered us any one of their strikers, obviously we'd take them. Any one of them are probably better than what we have as second choice at the moment, because we don't really have a second choice. But if I was looking to get another striker on board, I probably wouldn't be looking at any of Leicester's strikers.
Yeah, I think they'll play two up front. They usually do anyway. So I think it'll be Vardy and Iheanacho, and that's a strike force to scare the living daylights out of any defence, to be honest with you. Let's talk about our own transfers then going out. Start with Cullen. I think I did a show last night with Charlie and Tom, and I said to them, I think it's important you take Cullen and Burke as two separate transfers, because they're two different players, two different positions, and the whole thing with them both is different. I've got different opinions on both transfers. Do you have different opinions on both transfers?
Well, yeah, of course they're separate. So I mean, I didn't see your shows. You know, my washing machine broke down last night. I was running around to laundrette and stuff like that. So I didn't see the show last night. Cullen surprises me, because alongside Rice and Holland has been they were stand out for me, as in the youngsters in pre-season. Surely pre-season is there for a reason, and you give people a chance to impress. Well, I thought he did. And actually, I thought in the last game against the German team, or Tona, or whatever their name was, that the central midfield was almost dysfunctional, because it just wasn't linking. And they're almost missing what Cullen had been doing in all the previous pre-seasons, that just a little bit of linking, give and go. So I am surprised. I would have liked to see him get a chance. Burke, I also think, was impressive actually in pre-season. I think he's been pretty good, but I can understand that more, because unlike midfield, where we're probably a little bit shy, particularly with Noble getting the injury and whatnot, with Kiate out, I think maybe everyone's had a bit of a surprise with Declan Rice. So for so long, we've been expecting Burke to come through. And of course, then the big pressure has been on Reece Oxford. He has always been the next Rio Ferdinand. And sort of Rice has come through under the radar, hasn't he? And he may actually be the best of the three, you know. So I think if that's, obviously there were people at the training ground who knew what he could do, but I reckon Rice has come through and been so good that maybe Bilic just said, actually, Burke can probably go and do a season on loan. So for that reason, I can see why Burke's gone. Can't see why Cullen has.
The reason Burke's gone is because Bilic thinks that I think Bilic is going by ages, and he's saying to Burke, you're at an age now, you have to be playing. You can't, West Ham can't afford you to be sitting on the bench every week and not coming on and just sitting on the bench. But we can afford to do that with Declan Rice. We can afford to have Rice travel with this squad and not get game time, because he's younger, he's got time on his side, he can captain under 23s and learn, but Burke needs to go out and learn. I think the Burke deal is good. I think the 5 months on both players is fantastic. I think that's the real clever move by West Ham there, by getting them back at the start of January. I think that's the main thing. Cullen, I'm disappointed in. I've been rooting for him for a while now, but I'm a bit pissed off actually that he's gone out on loan. But I think this now indicates to me that Bilic sees Fernandez as a centre midfielder rather than an attacking midfielder. I think he's played Fernandez centre midfield quite often pre-season. And like you said, that leaves Obiang, Noble, Chiati and Fernandez. So I think that's our 4 centre mid. Bolton, is that the right club? Or were you surprised that they've gone to a club that's sort of in the mix for relegation, going by the bookies?
Yeah, but I don't think they will be, because they've got Amiobi, Sammy Amiobi there. They've just signed another player today, a good player, and they've got young Adam Armstrong up front, who's a promising up-and-coming striker. So they've actually got some decent players. Although it is hard in that division, because as we said, there's teams that are spending money, spending 14, 15 million in that division. Reading are really going to be going at it as well. Having finished third, they're going to look to go at it with Jaap Stam's a good manager. But Bolton have got some good players there, and make no mistake about it, I can't see a position where Bolton are in a relegation battle. I also think it's quite nice for the boys themselves. Forget what we think as West Ham fans about whether they should or shouldn't be here. Actually, it's nice. I'll probably go to Bolton. They'll probably room together, and it's going to help them both settle in. So I think that's pretty good from their point of view.
Yeah, I think Bolton's a bit skin toe, though. I think that's why they're near the bottom. Well, last season they were sort of in dire straits at one point last year. It looked like they were in free fall. But I actually think it's a good move going to Bolton, because they can't. If you go to the elite of the Championship, call it elite if you like, the guys at the top, Borough, Villa. As a manager, you'd be saying, hang on, I can't get 2 players in for 5 months, make them key parts of my squad for use to nick them, take them back mid-season. That can't happen. They're trying to build a team to get a promotion push that's going to be the core if they come up, when they stay up. At Bolton, when you're sort of that bottom side, you just have to take what you can get, really, as harsh as it sounds. When you've got no money, you've got to feed off the scraps, if you like. And if you're getting Cullen and Burke, who are going to walk into your team, or should, you're going to put up with the fact they're going to leave in 5 months' time and hope that West Ham change their mind and give you them for the season type thing. So I think it's the right club to go to, because they're just going to hopefully play week in, week out. I'm not so sure they would have at Middlesbrough that. I'm not saying they're not good enough. I just don't think their managers can afford to have them as key parts of their squad for them to then leave mid-season. Is this make or break for both of them now? They're both now early 20s. Cullen will be 22 this time next year. So is it sort of...
It's not make or break for them, but it's make or break for them at West Ham. I think they're both good enough to have good professional careers. So they both be perfectly competent at that level. I really like the way Burke brings the ball out from the back. I really do. I think he's competent. He can also play at right back. I think there were times last season when we missed a trick by not playing him at right back. There's certainly we played worse options at right back than Reece Burke last season. Make no mistake about that. So I, in terms of their careers, they'll go on to have good careers. They'll make good livings, and I'm actually quite sure they'll both be fine players. But it is make or break as to whether they make it at West Ham, or it may be one of those that we end up accepting bids for them come the end of the season.
I think it's obvious. I think the route for Burke is obvious. You come back when Ginger's done. Now, it might be January, you come back and we ease Ginge out and we ease you in, sort of thing. Or it might be the end of season where you go back out on loan, and at the end of the season, you come back, Ginger's contract's done, you take his squad position. Cullen, what has pleased me is he signed a 3-year deal before he went to Bolton. So that sort of pleases me. And I was looking at his interview today, and he was saying that he spoke to Bilic, and both of them think it's good for him to go out on loan. He sees his future at West Ham. His dream is to be at West Ham. And he signed a 3-year deal. And I don't think he would have done that if he didn't feel that he had a future at West Ham. I think he would have thought, well, hang on, I'm going to go out on loan and press, and then I'll see what my options are. But he said, no, I'll have sign all at West Ham. Then I'll hopefully go out and persuade you I can come back.
I think he needs to. I know he won lots of awards at Bradford last season, didn't he? So Bradford's the division below, right? Bradford's League One, yeah? Is that right? Mm-hmm. So he's now obviously a division above. I know he won lots of awards. I think what the next progression in Cullen's career is, I think he needs to play together really well. He gives and he goes, and he's a neat footballer. He's tidy, low centre of balance. I think we're probably going to need to see some goals and assists from him to show actually there's something. I don't mean a ton, but I mean, it'd be good for him if he scores 4 or 5 goals, gets 4 or 5 assists. and shows that he can do a little bit more than just string some passes together. And I think if he moves that up to that next level, I think then he really is knocking on the door and saying to Bilic, "Well, come on, let me back in. I can do a job for you."
I wouldn't be disappointed if he doesn't score or assist much, to be honest. Him stringing the passes is what I'd be looking for, and him sort of controlling tempo of the football, of the games, if you like. Sort of almost doing what Noble did for us the season before last, if you like, controlling the tempo, being the main man, being the guy that links right to left and front to back himself. And I think that's what he has to do. That's what I'll be hoping to see. But both of them might be making their debut for Bolton this weekend in the Championship. I think they're playing Leeds United on Sunday, so maybe keep your eyes out for that one if you want to see our two loanees and how they get on. We'll be tracking them here anyway to see how they get on. But like I said, Rice is probably going to be staying. It looks like Bilic has decided that Declan Rice is young enough to stick around the squad and get little minutes, so we'll wait and see on that one, because Rice did sort of hint that he was ready to go out on loan, but we shall soon see. Reece Oxford is out on loan. He scored his first goal in the friendly for his loanee club, Borussia Mönchengladbach, at the weekend. So good on him. But Bilic's transfer chat, Gonzo. He sort of said not to expect any big transfers. He's happy with what he's got, and that he doesn't. I think he's basically talking about squad morale. He doesn't want to piss off the players he's got.
Well, that's his job as a manager. It's just to be able to manage that morale. And if he thinks that put it this way, if a player becomes available, and I think we've balanced the books largely, haven't we? I think we've almost brought in as much as we've sold. I mean, we've done really well. And if we had this 50, 60 million as a transfer budget, there'll be a large chunk of that left. So I think it'd be absolutely mad if there was a player available that would improve that first team. If we didn't bring him in for worry that it might upset some players, then that would certainly be the wrong move. I think I agree, squad padding is not necessary. But if someone comes in that can walk into that first team, then we'd be mad not to go and get them if they become available. And I don't think this is me as a modern day footballers. They expect to be in a squad. They expect players to come in, and they can't be precious enough not to fight for their position. So that's what every footballer has to do. You have to fight for your position. And if it would say if there's a central midfielder that came in, you can't worry it's going to put Obiang or Noble or Kiati's nose out of joint. They just got to batter and make sure they're the one that would play alongside him. You can't turn down a guy that improves your first team now.
In fairness, I think Bilic did say something about how you can never tell what's going to happen in the window, and something might happen. I just think we're collecting money for something. But the Ashley Fletcher, the Feghouli wages. I was saying to Tom Charlie last night, I said they're not a lot singly. They're not a lot, but when you combine Feghouli's wages and Ashley Fletcher's wages and fee together, suddenly it's it's like 11, 12 million and 100 grand a week or something. That's a lot of wages you've just freed up. And I just think, I think they're up to something. I think they're sort of planning a move a little bit. And we were wondering if maybe it's someone like Barkley. They're thinking, let's sit on this guy, because the four players we've been linked with, Keita Balde, now I don't think that's going to happen, but him, Gray, Wilshere, Barkley, the one thing they've all got in common is they're all entering their last year of their contract at their clubs. And I think it's a clever move the way they're just waiting and sort of saying, well, there's only 2 weeks the window left. Their contract runs out. Here's our cheap offer on the table. You take it or not. I just think there's at least one more move from us to come. The second striker, though, you said, and there's no point in squad padding, but do we maybe have to sort of?
Yeah, sorry. Aside from that, yeah. I mean, we've discussed. I didn't mention it because we've discussed it so often. Yeah, we can't leave ourselves in a position where if Hernandez goes down, we're left with the other sack of an Andy Carroll. We just can't. That's not a situation. And Slav has got to prove to me that he has enough faith in the young player. So I'm not sat here. I don't actually believe what I said earlier on about when you said about Feghouli. I don't believe he is going to put Nathan Holland in. I don't actually believe he is going to play Declan Rice. I don't actually believe that he's going to play Martinez. So if that's the case, then I do really think we need some cover there if he's not going to play them. So yeah, I do think a striker does need to come in.
It's like I keep saying, though, I don't see why he would play them. The guy's in his last year of his contract. He's got no. I don't see why he'd be building for 3 seasons' time when he's only here for the next 12 months as it stands. I think there's a...
Well, no, listen, I would totally agree, but I think it's not about that actually with some of these. I think some of these guys are actually ready to go now. I think there's a case to be made that actually playing Martinez is better than shoehorning someone out of position in there for those games when he's needed. I think it's actually something to be said that actually on the strength of pre-season, I know it's pre-season, but actually look at last season again, I think forget about building next season. I think there's a case to be made that Nathan Holland would do a better job on the wing than Robert Snodgrass. So it's not about the future, it's about the now. And I said to you before, I think if Declan Rice got in that team, he'd find it hard to get out. I spoke to my old man about it last night, West Ham fan, obviously all his life. And the one thing he said to me, he said, yeah, but nobody plays 18-year-olds at centre-back, and certainly not Slav would. And I think he's possibly got a point there. But I do think I just think they can do a job now. And I don't mean starting all the time, but I just think when you're down to bare bones or as substitutes, and that's what I think Slav even won't do that. And it's not about him paving the way so they're good in 3 years' time. I think some of them are better than what we've got now, or can do a job for us now.
Yeah, but like you said, we're basing this on pre-season. And while I agree, there's certainly talent and potential in those players, but it's sort of risk-taking a little bit because we're seeing that last friendly when Rice got caught out with it was a short pass from Obiang, but he got caught out. Now you do that in the Premier League, as we've seen with Oxford when he made a mistake against Lukaku, he got punished for it. And in Premier League, you get punished for it. You can almost destroy a player. You can destroy their confidence if you like, but you can also lose points, and that's what then your man. But this is all swings and roundabouts, etc., etc. We all know what Billitt's is going to do, and that is probably not play the youngsters. And speaking of youngsters, Brace the Hammer, our friends over at Brace the Hammer, a couple of weeks ago, all the writers had to submit, they had to rank all the players 21 and under, so it includes Fernandes, and included at the time Ashley Fletcher. So 1 to 15, and they're doing a rundown between now and the Man U game as to who came in at each rank. So they've done 15 to 10 so far. 10th was Nathan Trott, but Gonzo, who would be your sort of 1, 2, and 3, if you like?
Well, I mean, it's just changed because if you asked last season, you asked me to name two end of last season, and I said Queener and Nathan Holland. And I've got to say here as well, and I mean, you've been very consistent with Cullen. You've been saying it for a year now, okay? But I've got to say, somebody mentioned to me who works at the club, is basically a steward at the club. Somebody said to me last year, Declan Rice looks really good. And then at around the time of the Players' Awards, Luke Malden, he said, and I remember him saying it, he said Declan Rice, he's the next one. He said he is the next one to come through. And you know what? They're right. So I really like the look of him. I think he's brilliant. So I would say with Rice, Holland, and Queener. I don't think Queener's gone off the boil. I just think he played in those European Championships. But I saw a few of them. I had him on the Eurosport, whatever it was. And yeah, I mean, he was pretty much player of the tournament in that tournament. I think those three are our most talented youngsters for me.
Yeah, I did Cullen, Rice, and Fernandes. I think you have to include Fernandes, given.
Yeah, I'd forgotten. I hadn't when you said youngsters. I almost see him as a first-team player. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's 21, isn't he? So you've got to include him, and I think you've got to include him in your top three. But you guys at home, let us know who your top three is, and also Based Hammer's third, second, and first will be out in the weekend of the Man U game. So do keep your eyes out. We'll be doing a video on it as well, actually, on our own channel. We'll be having a video with all 15 players and a little bit about each player. So keep your eyes peeled for this one coming. Gonzo, this week it's been revealed that we still have £100 million of debt.
Yeah.
Did that surprise you?
No, nothing surprises me, to be honest. I think Sean did a piece and he had the breakdown of it, and I don't think they do themselves any favours by announcing things like that. I think £39 million of it is what's owed to other clubs in transfers. So when you buy a player, you don't just pay all the money up front, apart from PSG seem to pay Barcelona up in 98 million. You'll generally spread it over 5 years. So I think 39 million of it was part of monies owed to that. So I don't think the figures are totally reflective, but it does seem to be that there was a little play on words whereas initially it was we would be debt free, and then I think people are now saying, "Oh, no, we said bank debt free." So I actually think that the somewhere in the truth. So we don't owe banks 100 million like we did before. I think we owe Gold and Sullivan 60 million or something like that, and we owe the other clubs 39 million, which is normal. You will always owe clubs something, but the debt has certainly not come down anywhere near as fast as I thought it was. And what worries me is not so much the debt, is that we always seem to be borrowing next year's television money and season ticket money. We borrow at the start of the season before it's all come in, and then we pay interest on that. So yes, we might not have any bank debt. And the guy that runs the company that lends it all is a guy called Michael Tabor, who's an entrepreneur. He tried to buy West Ham years and years and years ago when we were about to move to Beckton, and we pay him a large percentage to borrow money off him. So we're still paying interest to people, and yeah, that would be a concern if we don't sign any more players. If we do sign players, then fine. But as I say, otherwise, we have sort of balanced the books. I would imagine that there is still a chunk of transfer money left there somewhere. But you can't hide these things. It all comes out. You have to submit your accounts to Companies House and to submit them to the Premier League, and they're all fully audited. So you can't. There's no skullduggery. It will all come out in the next set of accounts, and everyone will basically have a really good look at them. But it's not coming down very fast, that's for sure.
See, I never looked into this, and I thought it was down to about 70 million. And when it came out 100, I thought, where the hell's the other 30 come from? But I didn't include the debt, the money owed to clubs, because I don't know for sure. But obviously, clubs will owe us money for transfers as well. Yes. So it sort of doesn't quite balance each other out. But it's sort of, to me, it's sort of 6.5 really sort of cash flow, isn't it? I sort of exclude the transfers fees owed, because you're also taking in. I just look at sort of debt to your directors and the banks, etc., etc. Tomorrow, West Ham play their final friendly against Manchester City in the sort of the big glamour friendly of the summer for both clubs, as we head to Iceland. It's a 3 p.m. kickoff for British time, so it's a bit of an awkward one, but we will be doing our review as usual on the channel around about 4:30 when the game finishes. So if you do miss the game, you can't be bothered watching it, you can check the highlights and come check our review as well. Start getting your questions in, because we're going to start rattling through a few of them. I'll start scribbling them down. Carlton Cole was in the press this week after his president of his Indian club said he basically called him a little bit shit, something that we've known quite a while. He hadn't scored any goals for his Indian club, and he basically said that all foreign players have done well except Carlton Cole. Carlton Cole then obviously took offence to it, saying that he gives his all for the club. He's still going to give his all for the club, and he's disappointed by the personal attack. Gonzo, did you see Home Alone kid with the West Ham shirt on last week?
Yeah, crikey, he looks ropey, doesn't he, eh? It's sweet-looking little kid he was. I'd tell you what, all the years of drugs and flaming drink had taken a toll on him. He looks like an old geezer, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, tell you what, we could have done with him inside Upton Park when they came to demolish the place. They could have got him in to set up some of his booby traps. But another famous fan to the list for West Ham. Tomorrow, actually, in the friendly, we're not going to have Betway on our shirt. We're going to have our Dylan Tumbides as the sponsor. So Betway have put that one up. So nice one to Betway, looking good. But now, Gonzo, question time. I think this is your favourite part.
Yeah, we wing it, mate. We wing it at question time. It's better than the BBC's question time, anyway.
Yeah, well, we'll do it. We've been doing it all summer. Sam, how worried are you?
I'm not worried. Whatever I was, what was I, a 2 or something? I'm not worried. I'm not worried, Sam.
I'm about a 4, because I think it's important we get a second.
You've gone up 4 in a week. You were 0. You even said last week you were minus something. Because
I'm starting to get a bit worried about this lack of second striker, because I think it's really important. I think our second striker is more important than getting Joe Hart in as a keeper. If you said to me at the start of the summer, well, you did, what do you want? I said, well, 2 strikers and a right back. Left wing would be quite nice. And that's it. I never said, a keeper's priority. It would be nice. Same with centre midfield. But second striker was always sort of up there with the other striker in the right.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to get a bit worried about the lack of talk. I do think we're maybe waiting for Gray, but Wolves are showing their hand apparently with 20 million. We ain't going to match that. We're not going to pay 20 million for Gray. So, yeah, I'm 4. I mean, I'm not panicking, but I'm starting to get a bit anxious as to what the game plan is. We kick off next weekend. So it's sort of like, well, essentially we could have Hernandez, who's only had maybe he might have had an hour of football under his belt in the summer. Granted, he had the Confederations Cup, but in a West Ham shirt, he might have had an hour of football. And on the bench, we're going to have either Sacco, who's played an under-23s friendly, or Martinez.
Yeah.
So while we're not complaining, Martinez on the bench, it's not ideal, is it? Be going to Old Trafford with Martinez on the bench and a sort of a reasonably fit Hernandez up front.
Yeah, but I would imagine, as I say, the sums don't add up. I think there's money there for another player. Is Bilic doing what he did last season, where he decided he didn't need a right back because he was going to shove Thingy in there? Has he now decided, actually, I don't need a second striker? It's because I'm going to do something else. I'm going to play Antonio up there. If he does that, who's going to play right wing? So, yeah, I think we just need to sign somebody, basically.
Raymond, speaking to the Man U game, Raymond is asking for your score prediction.
Cool, blimey, Raymond. Actually, to be fair, I probably won't do the preview. So, Raymond, I think we're going to lose it, mate. I think we're going to lose it. I don't know. I just can't see any way we go to Old Trafford and get a win, particularly if Lanzini's not playing. Score, I don't know, 2-0.
Lanzini will be playing. You mean Antonio?
No, I mean Lanzini.
Lanzini will be playing.
Why'd you say that?
Because it came out that him and Creswell, they're missing the friendly tomorrow, but they're back for, they should pretty much going to be okay for the Man U game.
I believe it. I believe it when I see it. I think something's going on with Lanzini. I do. I think you're right about Barkley. I think Barkley may well be Lanzini's replacement. There's contract talks. I think I'm not so sure. I'm not entirely sure. The Liverpool thing's worrying me with the Coutinho and then the whole knock-on effect to that. I'm not convinced, Gio. Listen, I'd love to be wrong. I mean, I thought this is Lanzini's breakthrough season. I really do. I think he's going to. I said it a couple of weeks ago. I think he'll be up for PFA Player of the Year. I think he'll be a key player this season. But there's a niggling thing in the back of my mind. I would, mate. I had £20 in my pocket now. I would not put that £20 down on Lanzini being at West Ham this season. Honestly, I'm a bit worried about it. Actually,
I would, because the owner's no fine that they sell him. All the good work they've done is gone. All faith in the board will be gone. The fans will turn on them like that if they sell Lanzini. Like that, everyone will just go, no, you're not having that. Piss off, you two. It's a risk I can't take. Prediction for me is a bit early, depending on team using that, but I'm going to say 1-1. I think it's a very, very hard place to go. I think Matic signing is going to see a new Pogba this season, and
it's going to liberate him, isn't it? He's going to go forward more.
Yeah, so I do think that does scare me. Pogba running at Martin Noble at Old Trafford does scare me a bit. So I'll say 1-1. Adam is asking, how good is Winston Reid?
He's I don't think he'd look out of place in many back fours in the Premier League. Actually, I think he's one of the better defenders in the Premier League. Certainly, that 9 million bid, if it were true from Everton, was quite ridiculous. Winston Reid is an excellent centre half. There's no doubt about that.
The only problem we've got with Reid is we've got that stupid release clause in his contract, don't we? Which is quite low. I think it's like 15 million.
Yeah.
That would scare living daylights. If Everton want him for 9 mil, Everton will pay 15 million, and that scares the living daylights out of me. Actually, I'm more worried about Reid than Lanzini, truth be told, because I think if Everton do want a new centre back, I'm not sure why they would. I think they're well stocked in that area. With Jagielka's still kicking about. They've got Williams and Keane, who I assume are going to be their paying. I think Reid's a bit of a strange one, but we'd struggle to replace Reid for 15 million. I know Chris Smalling's kicking about for 12, but you'd be able to get 60 million for Lanzini. So you could probably replace him for 60 million, but I don't think you'll replace Reid for 15.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's really good. I said he wouldn't look out of place in any other team, but I don't think he's irreplaceable for West Ham. He gets injured every season, Reid, and I think we'd manage. I think we've got enough centre backs to manage. Whereas I do think we'd struggle to replace Lanzini. So yeah, I don't want to see him go. I'm not saying that.
As for Adam's question for myself about Winston Reid, people always say, when they do that, who's your first name on the team sheet for Slav? Reid's my second behind Lanzini. I think he's fantastic. Andy's asking who starts in goal for you at Old Trafford.
Adrian starts in goal for me. And that's nothing against Joe Hart. I just think he has the shirt. He is the guy with the shirt. I think he's got to do something wrong before he loses it. My memory is not so short. He got it at the end of last season because Randolph had a dip in form. And Adrian came back and he was in good form. And he's not done anything since then to suggest that he should lose it. So I think I'd like to, having said that, I'd like to see Hart play against Man City. I think it's only right that Hart plays against Man City, actually, because his former club. I think we have to give that guy a chance to stick two fingers up at Guardiola, which he'll want to do. He'll feel hard done by. But we want to see some nice reflexes and some nice saves from Joe Hart in that. And because that's going to be a tough game, tough friendly. Make no mistake about that one. So, but I'd start Adrian.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same as well. I think before pre-season, once Hart come in, I thought, well, Hart will probably start, and I think Hart will start at Old Trafford. However, I'm a believer in the player keeps the shirt until, and that's why I keep arguing about Ayew, saying why should he be dropped? He's not done anything wrong, but everybody's talking about bin Ayew off, and so for me, yeah, I'd start Adrian as well. I just don't think he's done anything wrong. I think it's his shirt to keep, really. And also, we have to remember, only one of them is a West Ham United player, like permanently, and that's not Joe Hart. Mark is asking for an update on Antonio's injury. He's not going to be back for Man U, but he's back in training, I suppose. Clayton's asking, do you think the wages are the reason we're not bringing anyone in terms of FFP or whatever it's called now, short-term control cost?
Clayton, I think it's just a farce, mate. It's just a big smoke screen. I don't think it stands up legally at all to anything. Anytime anyone wants to break financial fair play, they'll just do it. So, no, I don't think that's the reason at all. That's not why we're not bringing anyone in. I don't know why we're not as of yet, but we have bought players in. But I do think there's a surplus of money there, and I think we'll probably spend it. As I think what Geo said earlier, we probably are keeping our powder dry. Let's just hope it's sort of one big player who can make the difference. But, you know, forget about financial fair play. Look at Paris Saint-Germain, for goodness sake, you know. And I know the Premier League financial fair play is a slightly different one, but I think the original one was done in 2014, run for 3 years, and then they basically revamped it in 2017, and it's very, very flaky. Anyone could break it, and it's not even a law of the game. So
yeah, I like I said, I said in the last show, I want to see us keep our money. Same with when we're talking about Wiltshire and loan. I say no, don't do it yet. Wait, because another Premier League player might come up. And we've already used our 2 Premier League loans, so I don't want to see us move too soon. The second striker, yes, but if someone else did pop up and we were sort of out of the running because we've spent our money early, it'd be a bit disgruntled, if you like. Have you seen us being linked with that Algerian player? I don't know how you pronounce his name, from France.
Yeah.
How do you say his name?
Boudabouz or something. Yeah. Mate. I'll tell you what. I had a look at him on a video, and he dabbed, didn't he? He dabbed. That's it, mate. You can't sign him. Can't sign anyone that dabs after a goal. Ridiculous. Well,
to be fair, Joe Hart and Zabaleta were doing a West Ham Instagram stream yesterday, and they were both dabbing away in it.
Dropped, mate. In my book, dropped. Dabbing is dropped. Adrian and Byram in for the start. Dabbing. There's no place for grown men should not dab.
I think it was Lanzini on the stream that was telling them to dab, so they did it at the end, I think. Someone, I can't remember who it was, so I think it was Mark. Yeah, it was Mark asking some fans, when Noble got injured last week in the friendly, and a couple of them said something like, "Oh, thank God he's injured. It means he won't play against Man U." And now it's probably tongue in cheek. However, some people then agreed, saying, yeah, if it gets him out of the team. What's your opinion on fans saying that?
It's one of those things. It's almost like folklore for me. All I've seen is people complaining about the fans that said it. I've not seen or heard any fans say it. I've just seen people taking offence to the fans, which I've not seen. I've not seen it, you know. And not only that, I even asked on Twitter. I said, "Who said it?" And no one even named one of them. I don't know. Who said it? I can't.
No one's snitching. You don't want people to snitch.
Well, I mean, I don't believe it. I don't think people would want a West Ham player to be injured. No one's going to do that. Of course not.
There was definitely one or two people.
They're probably Tottenham. They're probably Tottenham fans, mate. No West Ham fans.
No. There was a couple of West Ham fans. I'm not going to name them. There was a couple of them.
No, you tell me afterwards. We're going to troll them. We're going to troll them on the internet, Geo.
but things like that just wind me up. It's just so. Like, I don't know. How can you wish injury on anyone? Never mind the West Ham players, just anyone in general and stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I keep. How do you say his name? Is it Rowan or Rowan? How do you say his name?
Rowan.
Well, Rowan's saying, what do you think about rail standing?
Yeah, I'm in favour of it. I'm massively in favour of it. And sorry, I'm only laughing because we got quite a controversial thread on the forum about the whole Hillsborough thing and the blame apportioned to it and whatnot. So yeah, I've got quite strong opinions on that. Yeah, long overdue. It can be done safely, be done properly. And I think more pertinently to West Ham, Rowan, I think it would help improve the atmosphere in a stadium where we are a fair distance from the pitch. We need as much noise in there as possible. And you will not, again, Geo said earlier, you will not convince him otherwise. You will not convince me otherwise. People that stand up make more noise. Give the standing people a section, let them sing, and yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. It's good for everybody.
Yeah, it's also safer now. It's safer to stand in a railed standing area than it is to stand in a seating area, which is what everyone is doing. So it's actually safer now to make these changes while they still can. Before, I don't think anything will happen. A couple of people are asking this question, so I'll ask you, and that is, why in fuck's name do we still have Snodgrass in our squad and sold Faguli instead?
Because I think every player has a bit of every manager has a blind spot. I really do. Every single one of them will have a player that I mean, Sam's was Nolan. He kept Nolan. I mean, do you remember when we started that season and we had Sacco and Valencia up front? Do you remember Downing was playing in the hole? We looked really good. And then he just couldn't help himself. He put Downing back on the wing and brought Nolan in the middle. Nolan was good for us for a couple of seasons, but that fourth season, he just couldn't help himself. And I just wonder if Snodgrass might be Bilic's little blind spot, and I think we understand he pushed for the sign. I just wonder if he's slightly too stubborn to admit it hasn't really worked out. But I think, as the lad said there, we certainly should be keeping Faguli and trying to get rid of Robert Snodgrass. And I feel a bit sorry for Snodgrass. Let me just say that he's probably a very nice man. He's probably a very decent individual. But at Hull, he was a big fish in a small pond, and now he's in a medium-sized pond, and he's finding it hard to stand out, really. And I think if he's plays for Hull or he plays for a smaller team, he gets everything. He gets the free kicks. He can dictate. The whole team will play through him. They give it to Snodgrass and let him feed everyone. Well, that's just not going to happen. You know, you're at West Ham. If you're Mark Noble, you're not giving it to Snodgrass, you're going to give it to Lanzini. And so I think it's difficult for him to stand out. I think the move has not worked out for him. The move's not worked out for us. I'd be keeping Faguli and selling Snodgrass.
I don't think he needs to stand out. I think he just needs to fit in. But the problem is he's not even doing that yet. He's not even fitting in before you stand out, if you like. But I feel a bit sorry for him as well. I do wonder if maybe he gets a goal or he does something that gets fans to sort of cheer, if you like. I do wonder if his confidence will come up and we might see him starting to express himself a bit more, because he is still in all this free kick duty over pre-season. And he keeps walloping them past the back post. Like, they're really, like, overhit. And I'm thinking, bloody hell, man, just get it in the box so someone can get a head on it. Or try and create a chance rather than just this big swooping thing he does. On his corners, he's putting a lot of air on. I'm thinking, oh, crikey. Only Andy Carroll likes those things, and he's not on the pitch. Just stop doing them.
I think if he does play, we need to, as a team, we need to applaud him when he comes on the pitch. I think if name's read out and he's booed, I think it could, send him completely the wrong way. But having said that, I will support any West Ham player when they're on the pitch. I do think he needs to leave.
I think I was going to say, I don't think Bilic is playing him like the Sam and Nolan thing, because Bilic isn't really starting him all the time. I think the problem is it's realistic that we're probably not going to move him on because of his wages. No one's going to take him on his wages. So we're just going to have to make it work. It's either that or we just don't play him. He just sits there on such a large wage and does nothing. The only way we're going to move him on is if we do play him and he looks reasonably good and someone thinks, oh, he's available for $5 million. He's looking all right there, actually. I'll go get him. So I think it's a case of making do rather than wanting to play. Stephen saying, Charlie Nicholas's comments, have you seen these?
No.
He basically says we're going to finish no higher than 10th because Lanzini is inconsistent.
Oh, well, he's a not. Sorry. He's, you know, I mean, he ain't done what he's asked from his elbow, really, does he? That's absolute nonsense. Lanzini, he needs to watch Lanzini. I tell you what, he watched Lanzini. Watch Lanzini this season. Lanzini is just going to go for it. Lanzini is one of the best playmakers in the league. He's absolutely brilliant. I'm not having it. I won't have that.
Do you remember when I preferred Lanzini to Payet and you laughed at me?
Yeah, no. I do remember. And my point is, you said that you think one day Lanzini will be as good as Payet, but he wasn't. Payet left halfway through last season, and still, with half a season gone, he was still had created the third most chances in the whole of the Premier League. Payet's output for that season was like no player we'd seen in 20 years at West Ham. I mean, really, the chances created, you know, and all I was saying was if Lanzini's going to do that, he really will be a top player. And there's no way at that first season that I thought, you know, Lanzini should be playing ahead of Payet. But you did. I mean, you absolutely said you thought you had it in him to be that good. I would, you know, I totally remember that. But yeah, I didn't laugh at you. But I mean, I just said he'd be bloody good if he ends up that good.
Yeah, he had a different role back then, though, wasn't it? Create chances. Sailor Stephen says, where does Font fit in?
Quite a lot if Reed gets sold for 15 million. He'll play. He'll get lots of games. We struggle to. I mean, I guess a lot of it's based on formation, is it? 3 at the back, he plays a lot. 2 at the back, he's waiting on injuries because Ogbonna and Reed will be the first 2. In many respects, I'm hoping we do go with 3 at the back because I think we can really make that work. I think 3 at the back allows us to play 2 strikers. And I think if we get another striker, I would really like to see a partnership develop up front. Yeah, he'll play a lot if we play 3. He'll play when other people are injured. He's back up if we play 2.
I think he was fine at the end of last season, actually. I think he had a really crap start, but I think that was because of lack of right back. He was trying to do 2 jobs. I think for the last 5-6 games or whatever, I thought he was okay. I think pre-season he's looked okay. I think for a third choice centre back at West Ham, I think he's just at an acceptable level of ability, if you like. And actually, I think he's the right age for us because he's got 2 years left. And in 2 years' time, Oxford and Rice are going to be chapping on the door, a bit like Burke is to James Collins this season. Give it a year, and we're going to say, well, this is Font's last year, and now got Rice and Oxford. I actually think it's the right move by getting in someone that's 33 years old. Because if we had a 25-year-old come in, look solid, then you're thinking, well, how are these youngsters going to get in? Because we've got a future already. Right now, we've got the present, Ogbonna and Reid. We've got sort of the next season or so with Ginge and Font, but we don't have the future. But we do in Burke, Rice, and Oxford. I think the only way they're going to be the future is because we've got Font and Ginge, who are the ages they are, and they're going to move on. I think there's a very clear route to take for the centre backs. Actually, I'm quite proud and quite pleased about that. That we've got that sort of thing going on. Mike has asked about 10 times in the live chat, so we'll get to it. What is Mark Noble's role for next season?
Again, I've got to say, it's same as Fonts. Depends on what formation we play. If we play a formation where there's 3 in the middle, and when Lanzini is the attacking one of those 3, he's probably going to get a place alongside Obiang, but I don't think Bilic is afraid to drop him. So I think there will be times when we see Chieti and Obiang in the middle and no Mark Noble. I don't think he's a guaranteed starter, mate. I just don't. And but I think he's been saying it well. I think Mark Noble next season in the cup and in the league will play 25 to 30 games. If we play, say we play 38 games in the league, we might play maybe 5 or 6 cup games, possibly. Who knows? So we play 42 games or something next season. I think Mark Noble will play 25, 30 of those.
I think he'll play more than them. I think him and Lanzini are our two best passers. Not statistically, Fernandez and Masuaku are ahead of Noble as well as Lanzini, but I think he does a very underappreciated, underrated role. And I think now I think Arnautovic might be a better Noble next season, actually. I think he's now finally got someone to fucking pass to rather than Calera and Zaza looking at him going, what are you going to do with the ball? He's now got Arnautovic who's going to say, give me the ball. We've missed an arrogant person last season. We didn't have an arrogant person. Payet was he had a mediocre arrogance where he was happy to take a defender could be there. Payet would happily take the ball at his feet. Lanzini does it. Antonio, not really. You have to give it to him, then he'll do something with it. Ayew so, but we didn't see him enough last season. But the other players, Czechia is the worst one for this. Just stand and watch. You just look at Noble going, what are you going to do? Shift your arse and give Noble someone to pass to. I think that's why Noble's downfall is, like I was saying about Cullen, Noble for me shouldn't be judged on assists and goals. That's not his job. His job is to give it to the people that are going to create the assists and score the goals. And there's a massive role for Noble, but he's the one player that is under massive judgment before the season's even kicked off. He's the one player. If everyone writes down their starting 11, if you've got Noble, other people will point out going, why are you playing him? And I think he's got to hit the ground running from Old Trafford onwards, or I think there's going to be a lot of fans getting on his back, Gonzo.
Yeah, well, no, he doesn't deserve any fans on his back. He's been a loyal servant to West Ham, and he'll continue to be so. He's just not. I just don't think he's a guaranteed starter. But I think he'll still play a lot of games. Can't really put it any more than that, really, for me. But I really like him. I really like Mark Noble. I really do. But I really like Kiata and I really like Obiang as well. So be interested to see what happens.
Yeah, I like Kiati as a centre-back, but that's not happening. I'm still not convinced by the Obiang-Kiati partnership. I'm really not. They only had a couple of games last season, but we got beaten both of them, and they looked dreadful playing together. And there was just nothing between them at all. Kiati was off wandering about as he does. Obiang was struggling to do a pass, and he almost took Mark Noble's role of being the main guy to get the ball in the midfield, and he was struggling, but he didn't get picked up on it. It was only Noble, and I feel sorry for Mark, actually. I do. He sort of takes responsibility. He refuses to surrender possession, and that's what we need. Right, last question is from Mark. First 3 games, which is away to Man U, Southampton, and Newcastle. How much points do you think we will get? Well, how much points is acceptable, and how much do you think we'll get?
4 is acceptable. And I think we'll get 4. However, I wouldn't take much convincing. And this is where the fixture list and the stadium has been cruel to us. I wouldn't take much convincing if you would have told me we'll get 2 points from the first 3 games, and that would be an issue because there would just be pressure on everyone. But I think we'll get 4. I think we'll lose at Man U. I think we'll win at Southampton. I think we travel all the way up to the northeast and to see Newcastle have struggled to buy players really, but I think we can nick a point up there, which was probably a good result actually away from home. In that stadium. So yeah, that's what I think. 4.
Yeah, I think 4 is acceptable as well, actually. I almost want to say I think we'll get 4, but I can see us on paper getting a minimum a point everywhere we go, really. So I'll say 5. I'll say we'll get 5. And if we manage to come through those 3 games unbeaten, then when we walk up against Huddersfield, that place will be bouncing, and we've had a decent start. Even 4 points, I think that. Because then all of a sudden, if you beat Huddersfield, which on paper we should, but football's not played on paper, suddenly 7 points from your first 4 games is a decent enough haul, and we're looking good going into the next run. And we've got some winnable fixtures. We've got Spurs, Brighton at home. So yeah, it could be a decent start. But anyway, we will have our review tomorrow night when West Ham play Man City in our final friendly of the summer. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, like if you enjoyed this. Gonzo, have you enjoyed it?
I certainly have. I've got to say one thing. I've got a Your Shout, which I'll be processing in the next 24 hours. I'm waiting for Kiwi Hammer's video. No pressure, mate. And then I'm processing it. But yes, thoroughly enjoyable, and looking forward to the game tomorrow if I can get home from work early enough.
And we will see you on the forum at hammerschat.com, and we will see you in our next video. Thank you very much for joining us. Don't forget to leave a comment below with anything we've discussed tonight. Thank you.